Shallow water blackout is a loss of consciousness caused by cerebral hypoxia towards the end of a breath-hold dive in water typically shallower than 5 meters, when the swimmer does not necessarily experience an urgent need to breathe and has no other obvious medical condition that might have caused it. It can be caused by taking several very deep breaths, or hyperventilating, just before a dive. Victims are often established practitioners of breath-hold diving, are fit, strong swimmers, and have not experienced problems before. Many drowning and near-drowning events occur among swimmers who black out underwater while freediving or doing breath-hold pool laps. Blacking out, or graying out, near the end of a breath-hold dive is common. Although the mechanism is well understood, it is not common knowledge among breath-hold divers. Shallow water blackout is related to, but differs from deep water blackout in its characteristics, mechanism and prevention. Deep water blackout is precipitated by depressurization on ascent from depth. Blackout may also be referred to as a syncope or fainting. Hyperventilation. Otherwise unexplained blackouts underwater have been associated with the practice of hyperventilation. Survivors of shallow water blackouts often report using hyperventilation as a technique to increase the time they can spend underwater. Hyperventilation, or overbreathing, involves breathing faster and/or deeper than the body naturally demands and is often used by divers in the mistaken belief that this will increase oxygen saturation. Although this appears true intuitively, under normal circumstances the breathing rate dictated by the body alone already leads to 98 to 99% oxygen saturation of the arterial blood, and the effect of overbreathing on the oxygen intake is minor. What is really happening differs from divers' understanding. These divers are extending their dive by closing down the body's natural breathing mechanism, not by increasing oxygen load. The mechanism is as follows. The primary urge to breathe is triggered by rising carbon dioxide levels in the bloodstream. CO2 builds up in the bloodstream when O2 is metabolized and it needs to be expelled as a waste product. The body detects CO2 levels very accurately and relies on this to control breathing. Hyperventilation artificially depletes this, causing a low blood carbon dioxide condition called hypocapnia. Hypocapnia reduces the reflexive respiratory drive, allows the delay of breathing and leaves the diver susceptible to loss of consciousness from hypoxia. For most healthy people the first sign of low O2 is a gray out or unconsciousness. There is no bodily sensation that warns a diver of an impending blackout. Significantly, victims drown quietly underwater without alerting anyone to the fact that there is a problem and are typically found on the bottom as shown in the staged image at the right. Pool lifesavers are trained to scan the bottom for the situation shown. Breath-hold divers who hyperventilate before a dive are at risk of drowning. Many drownings unattributed to any other cause result from shallow water blackout and could be avoided if this mechanism was properly understood and the practice eliminated. Shallow water blackout can be avoided by ensuring that carbon dioxide levels in the body are properly calibrated prior to diving and that appropriate safety measures are in place. This can be achieved if divers do the following: take a moment on the edge of the water to relax and allow blood oxygen and carbon dioxide to reach equilibrium. Breathe absolutely normally. Allow the body to dictate the rate of breathing to make sure the carbon dioxide levels are properly calibrated. If excited or anxious about the dive, take extra care to remain calm and breathe naturally. Epinephrine also causes hyperventilation without the diver knowing. When the urge to breathe comes on near the end of the dive, immediately seek access to air. Never dive alone. Dive in buddy pairs, one to observe, one to dive. Buddy pairs must both know cardiopulmonary resuscitation current practice. Excessive hypocapnia is readily identifiable as it causes dizziness and tingling of the fingers. Refer to hyperventilation for details. Conservative breath-hold divers who hyperventilate but stop doing so before the onset of these symptoms are likely already hypocapnic without knowing it. These extreme symptoms are caused by the increase of blood pH following the reduction of CO2, which is required to maintain the acidity of the blood. The absence of any symptoms of hypocapnia is not an indication that the diver unregistered trademark SCO2 is properly calibrated and cannot be taken as an indication that it is therefore safe to dive. Note that the body can actually detect low levels of oxygen but that this is not normal. Persistently elevated levels of carbon dioxide in the blood, hypercapnia, tend to desensitize the body to CO2, in which case the body may come to rely on the oxygen level in the blood to maintain respiratory drive. This is illustrated in the scenario of type 2 respiratory failure. However, in a normal healthy person there is no subjective awareness of low oxygen levels. Shallow water blackout should be considered alongside surface and deep water blackout. Surface blackout occurs when a diver with low levels of circulating oxygen has surfaced after ascending from depth and has begun breathing, yet blacks out before the inhaled oxygen has time to reach the brain. Deep water blackout. The mechanism for deep water blackout differs from that for shallow water blackouts and does not necessarily follow hyperventilation. However, hyperventilation will exacerbate it and the two should be considered together. Shallow water blackouts can happen in extremely shallow water. Grayouts can be induced even on dry land following hyperventilation and apnea. However, the effect becomes much more dangerous in the ascent stage of a deep free dive. Refer to deep water blackout for more detail. There is considerable confusion surrounding the terms shallow and deep water blackout and they are made to refer to different things, or used interchangeably, in different water sports circles. For the purposes of this article the two are separate phenomena with the following characteristics. Deep water blackout occurs as the surface is approached following a breath-hold dive of over 10 meters and typically involves deep, free divers practicing dynamic apnea depth diving usually at sea. The immediate cause of deep water blackout is the rapid drop in the partial pressure of oxygen in the lungs on ascent. Shallow water blackout only occurs where all phases of the dive have taken place in shallow water where depressurization is not a factor and typically involves dynamic apnea distant swimmers, usually in a swimming pool. The primary mechanism for shallow water blackout is hypercapnia brought about by hyperventilation prior to the dive. See also Cheney-Stokes respiration, another condition involving oxygen/carbon dioxide imbalance and which can affect healthy mountaineers. References. Further reading, Lindum, P. Loss of motor control and/or loss of consciousness during breath-hold competitions. Int J Sportsmed 28, 295 €299 doi, 10.1055 per second 2006-924361. PMIDA 17024640. Retrieved July 21, 2008. Pollock, N.W. Van, R.D. Thalman, E.D. Lundgren, C.E. Oxygen-enhanced breath-hold diving, Phase I, hyperventilation and carbon dioxide elimination. In, E.J. Maney, Jr. and C.H. Ellis, Jr. Diving for Science. 1997. Proceedings of the American Academy of Underwater Sciences. Retrieved July 21, 2008. External links. Shallow water blackout is no joke. Lieutenant Douglas Chandler, Naval Safety Center. Shallow water blackout, Naval Safety Center. Swimmer discovers dangers of water blackout. Life-saving resources incorporated for interesting personal perspective. Snorkeling safety practicing safe diving. Shallow water blackout, Dr. Scott Dukin YMCA Scuba Currents, The Dangers of Underwater Swimming are Real, Bruce Wygo in ASCA Online, Scubadox Diving Medicine Online, Latent Hypoxia, Free Diver Blackout, divewise.org,